Just before we start, I just wanted to mention one thing quickly. Helos & Co. and Sporting Club Helos are independent missions. They're both run solely by myself. So if you could like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, it would mean the world. Check out helosandco.com. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'll be real with you. I only got into UFC like 2-3 years ago. So my knowledge is like next to none.
Yeah.
I've never trained.
Yeah, about the same as mine.
Fucking hell.
Because I never watched anything,
What do you think it is? Like, why didn't you get into it? We're recording, but we're also not, so just be candid as you want.
Why didn't I watch it or get into it? I just wanted a rest from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
because
that
like I was
football
in there, I was in there sort of thing, It was all, 110%.
Yeah.
And then when you come out of it, it's like, oh, it's enough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of footy players and football players that are pretty much the same, eh? They're like, they have nothing to do with football. There's a guy so I follow European football or football around the globe, soccer.
Yeah.
There's a guy called Alfonso Areola, and he has no clue what's going on. He just has no interest in football whatsoever. He sees it as like a job, and that's it.
Yeah.
And they'll ask him about like, oh, what do you think about the upcoming match? And he'll just go like you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah.
He doesn't care for like any superstars or anything. He just lives his life. It's a fascinating concept.
The best athletes are exactly the same. The hot, the guys on top, they're exactly the same, man.
Yeah.
When they're in, training, fighting. When they're out, they are out. They keep themselves away from it.
Yeah.
Whitaker, Mark, they don't watch them. I know that Mark doesn't really watch fights.
Yeah.
He doesn't, go out his way to watch a fight. Those guys are like big gamers for Rampage as well. There's a heaps of fighters that are big gamers. So that, on the games and stuff, get their mind out of it and then back in again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's what I learned from them is trying to keep yourself away from it so you can rest.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't rest properly, then it'd be hard to switch on when the time comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah.
I'll do the intro. Welcome back to Helos and Homies. Bit of a candid intro there. I'm here with the pioneer of the UFC, the first representative from Aotearoa, Māori representative in the UFC. I'm here with James Te Huna. How are you, Vali? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, I thought I'd give you an official introduction. What's been happening, bro? What's been cracking?
I wear two hats now. I got into coaching and mentoring once I finished up. I've been doing this for the last 7 years now.
Yeah.
6-7 years. And kind of like a fossil of the sport. Yeah. I'm like 40. I'm turning 42 next month. So things change as you get a little bit older. Go through different phases and adapt to your age, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got the company going on, New Wave Engage.
Yep.
Which is it's like a youth type of based company. Hey.
Yeah. So it's I provide role modeling and mentoring supports for out of home care male youth in the foster care system. So male youth in the foster care system. It's as a young person, we're all young once, going through the teenage years. It's trying to navigate your way, and you get your support from your family. Well, sometimes mum or dad or both parents aren't there, and we need those supports. So
yeah.
That's where I step in and provide those supports.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Doing a good thing. That's an amazing thing to be doing.
Yeah, well, it's much needed. I mean, I went through my teenage years with support and probably missed out on some important supports that I needed. And at times I felt isolated in different years of my life. And that's one thing that kind of bugged me. I wish I had support. So now I'm providing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're working with Penrith Panthers as a wrestling coach.
Yep.
How do you find all that, balancing that?
It's all kind of very similar, like coaching, mentoring, finding the language, learning how to build rapport, connect with someone, and be able to deliver something useful, something that they can use, so the young fellas can use, or the athletes, the footy players can use too. Yeah. It's all about learning the cues to use, learning the language, and being able to be effective at it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do you think? Did you ever think after the UFC you'd go into like an educational career in a sense?
I thought I was going to go straight into gyms.
Yeah.
I thought I was yeah, that was my goal. I was going to open up a gym, and
What changed?
I watched my brother. He owned a few gyms over the years, and he had his challenges with it, fight gyms. And then I had friends that had fight gyms as well, and they had their struggles. And the lifestyle of owning a fight gym, it wasn't not being the lifestyle that I wanted, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took I think I found what I really wanted to do, what I was here for. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Did you ever go up to the mixed martial arts gym in Lura in the Blue Mountains?
Lyra, yeah.
Yeah. That's like the way he operates that. And I spoke to him. So one of the guys I've got that asks you to ask you questions later in the pod, he was training there. So I went and did a few videos there. So like one of them did like 500,000. Like people were fascinated. So I did a walkthrough of the gym and they'd never seen anything like it. And when I was at the gym, I was talking to the owner and he was just talking about like, this is my life. Yeah.
Trish.
Yeah. He's like, this is my life, man. Like he was an old fella too. Fuck, man. The wall, he had like, he had posters of all like when he went to Japan, Philippines and all that. And he was just like, yeah, it's my life. Like I just live and breathe mixed martial arts.
Yep.
Like if you want to own a gym, and he's like, I do it at a low cost because I'm obviously on my own property, but like, the dedication that it takes to own a gym is next level.
Yeah. You got to actually love it. You got to love everything about it.
Yeah.
I love to rest. So I love to work and then keep those working hours over here and then rest hours over there. So
yeah. So why mixed martial arts? Like why combat sports? What made James Te Huna at some point in his life go, yeah, I'm going down this path?
Combat sports. I saw combat sports as it was definitely a vehicle to strengthen myself during those challenging, those hard years, those tough teenage years. As a young fella growing up, I grew up in a family. We're still tight, so we're a really tight family. My father used to pop off often, so family violence was around. Didn't know what was going on, didn't know what was happening. I was just, a lot of the times I used to think it was something that I'd done or started or triggered him to go off. Later on, I got to learn that my father had PTSD from a horrific event that he witnessed when he was 12 years old, that no one should ever get to see. But so I had my challenges growing up. My brother and I had our challenges. My mother had her challenges. We all got together during those tough times and just were able to learn how to better manage my old man and keep our family tight and strong enough to get through the next stage. So boxing was a way for me to, I had a lot of difficulties growing up, like because I was shy and timid and I was always afraid and scared. I was scared to mess up, scared to say something wrong. Used to have like a bad stutter in high school, pretty similar to along the lines of David Goggins growing up.
Yeah.
He used to get picked on. But I read David Goggins' book. He still had that, he had a bit of...
Never finished? Yeah. It's gone.
He still had that chip on his shoulder. He still had like a lot of go, like a, you know, he was really assertive in his head, but I wasn't. I was the other direction. I just did not want to mess up because I was scared of, you know, things that would happen. So my father, he was doing a bit of bouncing work at a hotel. Then a bunch of youths in the area were like, you know, playing up in the streets, and my old man and the publican got talking about, you know, getting something going for those young fellas that had nothing to do. And then boxing got, you know, brought up in the conversation. Next minute, the publican had a spot out the back, and the old man put his hand up to help coach and build this boxing gym, along with a couple of men in the area too. So we all kind of like was, you know, built from the community. Yeah. And I was put into boxing. I loved boxing and I loved watching boxing, and I had my boxing role models growing up watching on TV. But I was pretty scared, man. Like I had that first session and just lots of anxiety, very, very nervous. But when I had this session, when I come out of it, I felt myself get a little bit stronger than what I was. So the next day I rocked up, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So kind of rolled on from there.
Yeah, man.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, I wasn't talented. I was the last person to be able to learn something because I've had learning difficulties. But I knew over time, as I done more reps than the next person, I'll get better and better and better and better. And that's the way I learnt was, fuck, I got to do it 1,000 times. Yeah. And yeah, that's that was my mindset all the way through.
It's the only way forward, I reckon, to do something 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to get perfect at something, you want to get better.
Yeah.
You got to just practice it that many times. Like this, I'm on you're my 52nd episode. And every episode I listen to, I'm just constant improvement. Every time I walk out, I feel like I've done a better job. I feel like it's similar to that, where it's like, I've just got to keep going. Yeah. Because same for anything in life, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to keep going at it.
Yeah, reps.
Yeah. At some point, you moved to Australia. What age is that?
That was 17.
Right, that's
16, 17, yeah.
It's a massive move to make.
Yeah, like I didn't move by myself. My family all moved over.
Okay.
And we moved straight to Penrith. And I started boxing as an amateur in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Had a couple of amateur fights and then came to Penrith. And then me and my brother, we started kickboxing in the area. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Where was that at?
A couple of, it was a gym called Parkside in straight opposite Jameson Park.
Yeah, man.
It was a kickboxing gym. We used to run kickboxing classes, and there was a couple of fighters that were quite active. Glenn Baragry, he's still local to the area. Mixini, they were the coaches up there, and they were the guys that led the way for us. So me and my brother, we had a couple of kickboxing fights. My brother went a bit further with his kickboxing fights, and kind of started from there.
Yeah, right. And what age do you debut or start going into the mixed martial arts?
I would have been 21, but my interest went into mixed martial arts when I found these. I went down the markets, me and Tama, my brother, went down the markets, and we found these video cassette tapes. They had UFC 1 and 2 back in 95 or 94. I forget what date these tapes, the events happened in.
Yeah.
But these are old cassette tapes. And we're like, what is this? So we flipped on the back of the cover, and we just seen karate versus boxing and kickboxing versus something else. And we're like, so we read it a little bit more, and it wasn't a movie, it was the real thing.
Yeah.
So we whacked that first tape in, we watched it, and it was real life fights. Like we got a one discipline versus another discipline.
Yeah.
So it wasn't mixed at all. It was just, just that.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting. So we kind of we got really keen on the idea of getting involved in that. And then, we started practicing in the backyard, started practicing some moves that looked like they worked. And we were still competing as a kickboxer. But mixed martial arts is something that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was illegal in New South Wales, but it was legal in Queensland.
Yeah, right.
So we thought, okay, how can we get on those shows? And we met this gentleman. He was teaching jiu-jitsu at the time and teaching mixed martial arts, John Pedro. And this would have been back in 2003.
Is that Tyson's father?
It's Tyson's dad, yeah.
Yeah. Small world.
Yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so we were training with them at the back of Cranebrook in the Cranebrook School Hall.
Nice.
Yeah, after school.
Crazy.
So we got together and we had those sessions, and then flew up to Queensland and started competing up there in mixed martial arts. That's how we got started.
Yeah, right. So from there, you have a fair few fights, and then eventually UFC 110 comes around. But before that, you almost signed to, it's called Pride, hey?
Yeah.
And they were, for people listening, and I was new to this information only a few months ago, it's UFC ended up buying out Pride at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because Pride was the other massive promotion and UFC was actually smaller, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you want to talk through that? Like, how big was Pride, and like how big was UFC in comparison back in like when you were making your debuts?
The shows, Pride shows, this is how big Pride shows are. If Pride was still around today, those shows back then were still bigger than the shows today that UFC put on.
Yeah.
They were massive. There's like 80,000 people plus in the crowd. It was huge, like huge stadiums. Like you'd walk out from the fighters would walk out from the dressing rooms, and it would take them a while to be able to get all the way to, the ring, because it was fought in the ring.
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts was fought in the ring in Pride.
Yeah.
It was massive, and just being in Japan, the Japanese, they combat sports is really, really respected over there.
Yeah.
And so massive. So it was I got to experience a couple of shows over there. Got to see Mark Hunt fight over there.
Yeah.
And man, I'll never ever forget those shows. And he brought me over there. I was training with him, so he brought me over with his crew, and it just blew me away. And I thought, fucking hell, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And then Mark will go, hey, well, you can fight on there too. And I'm like, and then he goes, yeah, well, like, what's the difference between me and you? I'm like, well, you're Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
But he gave me that belief and bit of push.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too long before he comes up to me again. He goes, hey, so I spoke to such and such, and yeah, we got you a first trial fight in Pride. Do you want it? I'm like, hey, you're awesome. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, man.
And that's when UFC bought out Pride, and I didn't get to fight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So UFC 110 comes around, and that's in Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wanderlei Silva beats Bisping, and Kane beats what's his name again?
Nogueira.
Nogueira. That's it. I didn't want to get it wrong. You 17,000 people was what like UFC had down for the attendance that day. You debut in front of like that crowd on home soil as well. How was that feeling? Like, was it crazy to you?
Yeah, well, I knew I was going to get there to UFC. I was already signed up for Pride to have the trial fight, then it fell through. So I thought, okay, well, like Pride was my goal to get to Pride, not the UFC. Pride was huge. And then there was talks about UFC coming. Then I got signed up on to fighting there in the Sydney card, and I was well prepared for it, and just put my head in the game, practice, mental rehearsed it over and over and over again. So I was prepared for that walkout. But I was the first fight on the undercard. So like a normal UFC card the main event has 4 fights?
Yeah,
five
fights,
for big fight, for big event. And then you got all the undercard fights, which is another 6, 8, 10 fights or something. It's a long day if you're gonna sit through the whole event from start to finish. So I was at the very beginning, and I was expecting no one there. But as soon as I walked out, it was all the seats were filled.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their bums in the seats, and man, I can't remember walking out. But I woke up and I was on the canvas, and apparently my opponent had already clocked me like 10 seconds in. So that's when I've come to. Shit, I'm on the canvas and my hands on the floor. I'm trying to get back to my feet, and then I'm in it. So then, started from there.
Get out.
But it happens like that too, man. Like everything, man. When you're in such a hostile environment, things go super, super quick. Super quick.
What's it like? Like once you're in the cage and you're walking around and you're like do you have a clear mind, or is it like just complete like brain fog?
Well, before I get in there, I'm scared shitless, and then trying to, shake my head out of it and tell myself I'm ready. There's just like a whole roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to reassure myself, telling myself that I'm ready for this. I'm ready.
Yeah.
It can be a scary feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find, and it happens in like all sports, like I'd imagine you did your research on your opponents, right? Did you have like a game plan when you were going in there and like you knew what their weakness was, how to get to it, and then it often would go out the window, or would you try and stick to it as much as possible?
Yeah, totally. Plans can change, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had that. Like I'll go in with a plan, try and deliver the plan. If things change, then I was quite happy to, take it elsewhere.
Yeah, just go into the brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But it was that entry into fighting was a scary thing for me, especially coming back from back to my childhood years. I was scared and timid, and still am now. I have troubles with conflicts like fight, flight, or freeze. I'm the one to freeze. So for me to be able to get through that those experiences and have a fight was a big step, man. It was huge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So some other fighters might feel something different, but I was super scared. Like really scared. I used to get so scared and so nervous that I'll mow down pizzas and big meals right before a fight because it helped calm me down.
So comfort eating. So you used to comfort eat before you took on a fight.
Yeah, they say don't eat food before you fight because it affects your performance. But nah, for me, it helped settle me or settle me some more.
Yeah, fucking hell, that's crazy to hear. Like an athlete at your level. Did you cross paths with like Bisping and stuff that day or nah? And were you starstruck at all if you did?
Nah, so we hosted the boys out here, Bisping Rampage out in Penrith. So they were out here with us for like 2 weeks. Yeah.
What, they stayed out here?
Yeah, Penrith, yeah. We were training together and stuff, and we got to like, know each other since those times and just kind of connected over the years and just,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Bisping went on to be fucking legend.
Yeah.
You had a fair few fights after that, but the craziest one, and it's often like I'd say it's folklore to Australian and New Zealand MMA, was you versus Beltran. Beltran, when I kind of looked into him, seemingly like not a massive name, but I heard you talk about the fight, and we were talking about it earlier. Early in the fight, you break, is it one of your arms and one of your legs?
No, I broke that hand. I broke the arm in a different fight. But I broke that hand on the top of his head, and then I broke my foot straight after it. So it was about 60 seconds into the fight. So
Same side or opposite side?
So this one and then that one opposite sides.
Oh. And so you go in, and that happens in 60 seconds. In that fight, you break the UFC record for most significant strikes, which is it's fucking crazy to me. What's like? First of all, how do you even get the win, and what's going through your head? And do you also realize that you've broken them, or is it after the fight that you look down and you're like, fuck, like my hand's fucked, my foot's fucked?
So in the first minute of that fight, we're starting out, I realized that I'm faster than him, so I pop this jab out. And then as the jab, the fist lands on his head, it goes crack. And then I return the hand back to me, and I thought, okay, well, that's broken, and I think it's broken. Yep, the pain. There it is. It's painful. It's broken. Yeah. So then poker face on. It's all right. I've got 3 limbs left. I've got this one and then 2 legs. So then I throw a leg kick, but then he kind of like moves out of the way, and it catches, top of my foot catches his kneecap. So that goes crack. And I've put my weight down on my foot. I'm like, oh, fuck. It's broken.
So with this, right? So do you continue the fight just faking that your left hand and right foot are still good to go, or do you actually continue to use them?
Still use them. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But like,
what's the pain like when you're throwing your left?
You feel it. You feel it. But like, if I'm able to like clench it up, make it rock hard, I feel it a little bit less. Or maybe if I just keep busy, it will just my mind will take me away from the pain. But no, I think it. I don't know, like me being at a disadvantage, or me being like the underdog. I liked being there, and I always wanted to, to come out on top. Yeah, so I like that disadvantage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And where was the fight? It was over in US, was it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're over in his territory, and you.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate underdog story, eh?
Yeah. It was some other ones too. Yeah.
And then it continues on, and UFC 160 comes around. Now, this is the one fight I was like really fascinated by. You face Glover Teixeira. You face some pretty big names when I was doing my research, like looking into them. But we were talking about it before. Do you think Glover arguably is the most well-known fighter that you ever faced?
Today, back then would have been Shogun in that era.
Yeah.
Shogun was the pride champ. Shogun
knocked
Shogun
you
Rua.
out?
Yeah, he got me, man. He's one of my idols, actually.
Yeah. Was that crazy for you, stepping in the ring against him?
Yeah, big time, man. That's like one of my idols. I went to. You remember those 2 times I went to Pride?
Yeah.
Shogun was fighting on one of those shows, and I seen him in the foyer of the hotel, and I ran up to him and said, "Hey, man, big fan." And he doesn't speak English, Brazilian. Can I get a photo, man? And he was always one of my idols. I used to try and copy some of his stuff that that I saw when I watched him fight. Yeah. So then I remember as I got to the UFC later on, and I'm climbing through the ranks as like a young, hot prospect. I was always asked for big fights.
Yeah.
And people were saying, "Oh, what is James? You would have been alright if UFC didn't feed him the big dogs so early." And I was like, "Well, no, I asked for those guys. I wanted to, otherwise, what's the point?" Like, I always wanted to challenge myself, like throw myself in the deep end and go against these dudes that these hard guys.
Yeah.
I just loved working at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's mad. I rate that. I respect it so highly.
He knocked me out cold, but it was just it wasn't my time sort of thing. And I fought a Shogun that was quite he was in really good shape for that fight, man. It was real good shape. So it's just I know some days you can turn up, some days you don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes the nail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Would you say, in terms of fighters you fought, would you say Shogun was arguably like the best that you ever versed, like in their prime? Or was there someone else?
No, it would have been Glover. Glover was like coming into his prime.
Yeah.
Shogun would have been up there too. Yeah, sorry.
And
Both of those guys.
versus Gustafsson, was he on his way into his prime then, or?
Yeah, me and him were like 2 young hot prospects at that time, and we ended up facing each other, so they put us together.
Yeah.
And it was quite good. It was real good.
Yeah. So with Glover, unfortunately you lost that fight. But on that fight card, there's 2 guys that are fairly young at the time. One goes by the name of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and the other one goes by the name of Bobby Knuckles, aka Robert Whittaker. At the time, could you have picked that those 2 would go on to have like some of the best careers the UFC's seen? Or are they just normal fighters for the most part? Like once
I don't know, like when I'm in there, it's like, and most of the fighters would have that kind of sense too as well, I guess. Like it's. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really watch them fight or anything. I didn't watch what they were doing. But, Khabib was in our changing sheds, and we were warming up together. He would have one corner of the room, I have the other corner of the room, and the 2 crews together in the room, we would, show a lot of respect to each other and give each other enough space for their fighter to get ready. Yeah. But I didn't realize that they'll get this far, they've been Rob Whittaker, far out. Man, he's awesome.
Yeah.
So determined. Yep.
Do you feel like, is it crazy for you to kind of see what fighters from Australia and New Zealand have gone on to do after you and Mark finished up?
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting, especially watching Ty and Tyson go at it and up there and just doing so well for for the boys from Penrith, and yeah, it's awesome.
It's crazy like UFC and like how big it is now, and the Australian aspect of it is born out of like Penrith. As a boy from like the Blue Mountains that like hangs around Penrith all growing up, it's crazy like when I was growing up that you and Mark were training out here, and then Ty and Tyson were growing up. Tyson's dad was the one that was training you, like full circle moment.
Yeah, Tyson was in the gym too. He was training as well. Like he would have been 12 years old.
Nuts.
and he was training with us in
Yeah.
in the group classes, and
Did a young Ty come through? Because wasn't he facing like...
yeah, Ty, his old man, like we're all family friends,
Yeah.
and his old man knows our old man really well. Used to work together, and Ty used to come down to the gym as well, and he's 13, 14, 15-year-old little shit, joking around. Typical talented kid that was good at everything, didn't have to train.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
With Ty, didn't he used to train with like Mark at like the age? Isn't like there's like, was it Ty that was training with Mark at like age 16 or 17 maybe?
Yeah, so Tama was training Ty, and then Tama, my brother, he connected everyone. Yeah, he connected everyone. I first connected with Mark, and then we made that relationship strong. And then, me and my brother will go down to Mark, and then Mark will come up for sparring, and then years will go by, and then I guess Tama's gym, the fight gym out here, had a lot of heavyweights.
Yeah.
So and Ty was one of them. So yeah, Tama made that connection, and Ty started training with Mark, and yeah, kind of rolled on from there.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that set Ty up for what would like in his career when he faced like heavyweights? And we spoke about it before. You don't really watch fights as much, right? But I'm sure you watch like Ty. There's been some fights where like it seems like he's on the back rope, like even the Derek Lewis one, and then he comes out and just knocks him out. Do you think training with Mark from such a young age is kind of like prepared him for that?
Oh, it all definitely helps. A number of things play a big part in that. Ty, so stubborn. When someone goes at him, he just wants to go back. I think, that hasn't been. He hasn't been taught that. I think that's just in him.
Yeah. Just naturally in him.
Yeah. But everyone plays a part in someone's success as well, but not as much as themselves as well. They have to do the work to better, go forward. So yeah.
Do you back to the Aotearoa New Zealand question? Seeing someone like Izzy come through, do you pinch yourself knowing that like you were the first to represent the country at this level, and then what's followed after is like UFC royalty in a sense?
Yeah, I knew.
And do you realize like your royalty to these people as well?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't feel that, I just feel like a normal person just that was in there first up sort of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of knew that Australia and New Zealand would get there because of, fight sports, and New Zealand's quite big. New Zealand's a massive one. Like if you're not playing rugby union, you're, boxing or
boxing is pretty big.
Yeah. So I knew that there was going to be some good athletes coming out of there.
Yeah.
Now it's just kind of blowing up, eh? Like you have a look at City Kickboxing in Auckland.
Did you train there much?
No, I didn't. All my stuff was here and then over the States as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing in New Zealand at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did you train with in the States?
AKA, so Daniel Cormier and Velasquez and Rampage and Bisping and Chick Congo, all those old school guys. And
Man. What's it like training with DC?
Yeah, he's a good team captain. He's really pushes it. He's really good. He's really good. He has his high standards.
Yeah.
And he's if you can't meet the standards, then he's like no nonsense type of guy too. So
yeah,
he's a really good person to be around, because you know what the standards are.
Yeah. I mentioned this to you at the start of the podcast. I have no idea about UFC, right? Like I've only started following it 2 years ago. There was a guy back in the day, and I forget his name, that really took it to John Jones. But besides that, do you think DC on his day could have beaten John Jones?
Maybe.
Or do you think John was just unbeatable?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it just depends on the day, man. Like John Jones has performed so well in every single fight he's ever had. He hasn't really had a bad fight. There is no bad fight. Will there be one? I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't know. But he's like a man. Daniel Cormier on his day, he's quite good. Yeah, I think. I'm not too sure about that one. I haven't watched enough of their fights to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about this. You mentioned it before. You don't really watch like much of the fights, right? Unless like you're watching your mates, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, why is that? Why do you think?
It just didn't really interest me, to be honest. Unless it was one of the boys fighting or someone big that I knew,
Yeah.
No, I didn't really watch it that much, but yeah, I guess one of the reasons was because I wanted to get while I had my head in the game, like training and competing and stuff like that, I want to be all in. And when I come out of the game, like when I'm resting, I want to be resting. And I just saw like watching fights is another thing that's going to switch my brain on and not allow me to rest. Yeah, and that rest is important because when you rest, you got to rest. Because if you're not resting, you'll have trouble when it's time to switch on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that generally, like nowadays, you've been retired for 6 or 7 years. Hey, 2016 was it?
2016, yeah.
Yeah. Can you just on a Sunday just chuck on a random fight card or not for you?
Nah, not for me, man. I'll hear the results.
Yeah. Do you watch any combat sports or nah?
Oh, yeah, every now and then I do.
Yeah.
Yep. But, yeah, not often. Not often.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, unless like the guys get together, we're at a pub or something, or the fights is on or something like that,
Yeah.
There's a lot of fighters like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like so in the fight community, there's a lot of fighters that won't watch as many fights because you just
Yeah.
can't be bothered type of thing.
Yeah.
Just want to switch off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, eh?
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask, do you get noticed much?
Nervous.
No, noticed. Like,
Oh,
especially during the fight years, did you get noticed much? Because UFC obviously wasn't as big.
no, not really, because it was just growing. It was just started, you know what I mean? It was just starting out, and I didn't get noticed as much in New South Wales, but like in Melbourne I would, Victoria or Queensland I would, in New Zealand I would,
Yeah.
in America I would, but not as much in Sydney or New South Wales.
So that's crazy. So in Penrith, the random person wouldn't notice you.
No.
But you'll be on the other side of the world and someone would know who you are.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
Where were you training at? In LA?
I trained in Denver, Colorado, and San Jose.
Yeah, awesome.
Other places too, I think. I can't remember. Yeah.
Was it crazy to you when you started to travel the world for fights that this was like what you did for a job? Like, did you ever pinch yourself going like, can't believe I'm on a flight to America and people are paying to watch me fight?
Not really, because I knew it was going to be like, it wasn't going to be forever, and I had to make the most of it. And I was just like, fucking just, do the best I can sort of thing and just go.
Yeah.
I should have that's one thing that I regret. I should have, slowed down a little bit and learn how to breathe a bit more and, enjoy the ride a little bit more. Would have made things a little bit more easier for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the card that you headlined in New Zealand, what was that like going home and being the star of the show?
It was awesome, but then I was like juggling. Oh man, it was an emotional wreck, eh?
Yeah.
It was an emotional wreck because that's been my number one goal, was to represent my country. Since I was a kid, it was for the All Blacks, but now
every kid from New Zealand, yeah.
But I was so I had surgery, so I was on my couch at home, nursing having my arm in a sling. The day I got out from surgery, and then my manager calls me and he's like, "Oh, do you want to listen? UFC, you want to go back to New Zealand in 2.5 months? They want you to fight in the card, and they want you main event." I'm like, okay. Well, when is it on? Because 10 weeks or something. So kind of worked it out. 10 weeks, all right. So I've got my arm in a sling. Just had surgery. I should have this for about another 4 weeks, I reckon, and then maybe 6 weeks, and then it'll leave me with like 4 weeks of sparring,
Yeah.
fight training for this fight I can do it. So I took the fight, and then the day after, started training. I've got this arm to train with, so I got this one in sling. Then I'm using this medicine ball. Then I catch the ball, and then I break that thumb. So I've got this one in sling and that one in a splint, and I can't use that. But end up being the same healing process, that one and that one. So it still left me with 4 weeks, like 6 weeks for those two to recover. And then 4 weeks of me to start fight training. So then we go over to New Zealand and start sparring. And the first sparring session, dislocate my shoulder.
You're a warrior.
I'm like, oh man, let's try this again. And then go back at it again. And then it happens again. And then I'm just like, oh man, I jump back on a stationary bike.
Yeah.
And just, it's a new problem. And then a couple of weeks out, sparring again, then had scans done, and then they find out I've fractured the humerus of that bone. You can't fight. And I'm like, yes I can. I'll jump back on a stationary bike, get myself fit. So it's kind of, I shouldn't have fought, but I didn't want to back down either.
Yeah.
I was a broken man when I walked down on stage. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to back down. It didn't matter if I, crutched my way into that cage. I was still going to, complete the task.
Yeah. Do you think you were too mentally tough for your own well-being?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think so. A lot of my team members around me, they would have, they probably thought it wasn't a good idea for me to fight, but then they were going to, support me 100% with whatever decision that I had. My problem was that I was my own coach, I was like the captain, the coach, because no one else I didn't have someone, that had been there, done it, that I could really, really trust, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never thought about it from that perspective.
Like if Mark Hunt came in and said, no, you can't fight, I'll be like, okay, because I could trust him.
Yeah, because he was the only one at that time, right? He'd be the only one that had done it before you.
Yeah. So the people around me at the time were like, I was very, I was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one could really tell you no.
Yeah.
And that got in the way. Yeah. Happens to a lot of men in different areas as well. Yeah. So that kind of got in the way in a sense of like your ability to prepare for fights properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Do you think, was there any fights that you thought you were heaps well prepared for and then you got in there and then you just straight away like, fuck, like this is straight into a brawl. Like everything's gone out the window. I could lose here.
Yeah. Yeah. Heaps. There's one fight, went over to England in really good shape, and then go out and fight this guy. I fight this guy that's just come off from setting the record for the fastest knockout in history.
Who was that at the time?
Ryan Jimmo.
So that was before Masvidal?
Must have been 6 seconds or something. You got on 6 point something or something. 7 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
Look
what?
it up. Ryan Jimmo. Yeah, fastest KO in history. UFC history. That's back in 2012, I think.
Yeah, right.
He was on a 16-fight win streak too, and then just done that. And then I put up my hand to fight him. Then he came out and threw up a head kick, and he got me in the first 30 seconds of the match. And that changed the game for me because I was knocked out. But when I landed on my head, hit the canvas, it's waking me back up, and then I'm back in the game.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy.
So then, weathered the storm and ended up, beating him. So took that one by decision.
So I'm looking at, let me know when his name pops up. So there's Don Fry versus Thomas Ramirez, Ryan Jimmo versus Anthony Parash.
Yeah.
7-second KO at UFC 149. Yeah, right. And so he tried to do something similar, right? Just from the get-go, tried to go you.
Yeah.
And
he got me.
Yeah.
He got me. But I woke up on the canvas, so
that's crazy. That's
back
nuts.
in the game.
That's nuts. Did that happen to you often where you kind of, not I suppose the word I'm looking for is wake up during the fight, all of a sudden fuck, this guy's punching me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, heaps.
Yeah. So that first part's a bit of a blur, and then like all of a sudden, like your brain just switches on, type of thing. Happened a fair bit.
Yeah. Sometimes it's different.
Yeah.
But it just depends on every concussion is very different, eh?
Yeah.
Like I remember I got knocked out by Shogun, but I remember seeing the punch come in. It's like everything's in slow motion. And then as I'm going down towards the canvas, if you watch the video, it looks like I'm dead as soon as I get hit. Right?
I watched it today.
Yeah, it's like a bad KO. But I remember like myself like rolling down towards the like dropping on the canvas, but I'm with it and I'm like thinking about, okay, well, my head's falling towards the canvas. I'll just put my arms out, my hands out in front of me, and nothing's moving. It's just like dead to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew what was going on, but then
Yeah.
my body couldn't react.
Yeah, this sounds like a bit wankerish. I had something similar, right? So I used to play AFL, and I had my head over the ball. I'm not sure if you ever watch AFL much, but like I had my head over the ball, and someone dropped their shoulder into like directly the top of my head, and I like went out, and then when I like kind of woke up to like one of my best mates being like, "Get up, like you've been a bitch," and then I was like, "No, I actually can't move," and there was this feeling of like. I was looking up and I like the sky was there, but like moving my arms and my legs was like like nothing was really happening for like a certain amount of time. I got to the hospital, ended up all right, but like there was this there was this brief part where like I just couldn't, like nothing was really like people are talking to me, I'm getting all the information, but like trying to communicate with them via my body wasn't happening. I can kind of like not relate, but I can understand where you come, like what you're talking about, where like you're obviously getting knocked out and your brain's still somewhat there, but the rest of your body's just clocked out. Yeah. It's a fucking scary thing, eh?
Oh, yeah, man. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But then there's other times it'll been like, I'll be at training and then I'm walking off the mats and then I look behind me. I'm like, I can't even remember rocking up to training or didn't realize I was just sparring. I can't remember nothing. It's like a mind blank. Fuck. How long have I been here for? Yeah. Look at the time. Oh no, we started at like 10 o'clock or something. I don't remember getting there or anything. It's like a memory wipe my memory for that morning.
Yeah. Does that scare you?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah. So you retired due to, you spoke about it on Rich Life maybe.
Yeah.
You went and saw a neurologist.
Yep.
And he basically said, you can continue if you want, but here's the facts, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Was it scary to you when you were confronted with the facts of like what maybe the concussions and the repeated trauma to the head and body has done over the years?
Yeah, well, like it was.
Did you expect it?
It wasn't really talked about back then. Like it wasn't a thing. Like if you got knocked out, you got chinny and you know, kind of like punch drunk. You got to be aware of that. But I never actually thought that would happen to me.
Yeah.
Until like towards the back end of my career, I was getting hit with things that shouldn't have rocked me or dropped me. I was like, oh fuck, this ain't good.
Yeah.
And then got my brain scans back from the neurologist, and he gave me the results, and he said, you know, it's not looking too well. Think about your decisions in the future. And normally I'll, you know, if anything else, like any other limb, go in the hospital, have surgery, get fixed, sweet, I'm recovering, I'm back on the field again. But nah, not.
The brain's different.
Not the noggin, nah.
And do you feel, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to because it's quite personal, but do you feel you have any effects from the fighting career you had still that maintained to this day?
No, I reckon I got better.
That's good. That's good.
I reckon yeah, so I guess the neurologist said just have those close to you that know you just to monitor you over time, you know, because they'll be able to see changes in your behavior and all this and that.
Yeah.
But those around me, my closest friends and family, have noticed big, massive changes, positive changes since I've stopped fighting.
That's good. That's good stuff. Yeah. Fucking hell. Yeah. So like CTE wasn't talked about at all, any of that stuff?
No, not really. Until that movie came out with Will Smith, Concussion.
Yeah, right. So it was that movie that did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It only got brought to light on my end when like sports stars were starting to like kind of talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In even in like football, Liverpool Football Club, they stopped headering in training because they had players that from the past they kind of came to the conclusion, the doctor said, like, this is most probably like players from that you've had in the past that having problems with their brains now. It's from heading the ball every day. It's not the games where you play once a week and it's the training, like where you're headering it every day. So I'm pretty sure they stopped headering the ball, training and shit like that. It's kind of when it got brought to light on, like from my end as a fan. I wanted to ask you about some of the highlights of your career. When you look back on it, obviously the walkout's a big one. So you did the Men in Black walkout. A very famous one. That's I was looking at some lists. That's some people's favorite ever walkout. where did that come from? Did you just see Men in Black that week, or you just like, yeah, fuck it?
Me and the team went over to England to get ready for the fight. We're over there 2 weeks before the fight to try and acclimatise, get used to the time difference and the temperature. We're over there staying, we're training together and we're staying together, living together. We're around each other 24/7.
Yeah.
And we just didn't have enough space in between us. And then, 5 alphas and living together. So, things started like a lot of, a few fights here and there sort of thing, and team was breaking apart. So then me and another team member, we got together one night and we were like, trying to figure things how to bring the team back together. And then the conversation shifted to, I think someone done a walkout or something. Then I started talking about walkouts, and I've always loved the idea of, I love Will Smith, Men in Black. I love his music, I love his, movies, and kind of pushed the idea towards my mate. And he was like, yeah, man, that'd be a pretty cool idea. And I was like, yeah, should we roll with it or what? Give it a try. Yeah, sweet. Yeah. So, the next day we got the team in the lounge room. We got YouTube tutorial of how to do the Men in Black dance. It's like a 30-second thing. And then we were practicing and we were laughing and we were messing up. We were making all these kind of mistakes and we were having fun and started bringing the team back together. Yeah. So every night we practiced that for the last 7 days leading into the fight.
Do you think it fucking sucks that you can't do that shit anymore?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It sucks, eh?
Yeah. So what's the reason for that?
It's most probably the brand deals. Like
the brand deals?
Don't you reckon? Well, you don't have to answer it because you're once part of it, but like Monster and stuff surely would have like deals with the shorts. And is it Engaged? No, Engaged doesn't do the... I can't remember who does the shorts, but how they got like 5 or 6 sponsors and whatnot. I think it'd be those sponsors saying to the UFC, like, if we're sponsoring, we want to make sure our shorts are seen from our brand seen from the start. Because I remember when I started watching old fights, once I started getting into it, there was so many people doing so many different things. And nowadays, you can't really do that. You know what I mean? It sucks. It sucks because it brought this individual flair to it. And now it's just very I think the flags got taken away as well, which is horrible. But
I'll make the UFC is a business, so they've kind of monopolized it and they can control whatever they want. I remember I always had sponsors and a lot of other fighters had big sponsors because the UFC paychecks are not that great.
Yeah.
But we rely on those sponsors to be able to, give us some return back.
Yeah.
And we're quite lucky for those sponsors and we're making some good money off them. But then the UFC stopped that and got their main sponsor, and then they were they were getting the money.
Yeah. Did you ever cross paths with the brothers or Dana?
Oh yeah, every now and then, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you like them?
Oh, I don't know them well enough to be able to say that. We've only just met and just brushed by and just g'day, see you later, sort of thing. Didn't really have much to do with them.
So in terms of when they're organising fights, do they just have a team that will call your manager and then just say we want James on this fight. Can you call him, see what he wants? Yep. Is that just a straight process for it? Yep. Right.
Yep.
Right. Now I wanted to ask you some questions that I got from. So I asked a few people that are amateur fighters. Actually, no. First, I wanted to ask you a question. So you've done this wrestling coach thing with NRL clubs. You've done it with 3 clubs so far?
5.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fair few. Now, if I was to ask you, the complete hypothetical, any of the players you've trained in these wrestling classes, if you were to pick 2 to go into mixed martial arts for a career, who would you pick?
But out of all the clubs that I work with,
Yeah, over the years. Should we name the clubs?
eh?
Should I name the clubs
Yeah.
so people know? So it's what? Dragons, Knights,
Dragons,
Penrith,
Knights, Sharks, Para,
and Penrith.
Penrith. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So who do you reckon take two to put on a UFC card?
To put on UFC card with their wrestling ability. I would have to say, I think James Fisher Harris, because he's like the silent assassin, but he's like,
He's a hitman, eh?
Yeah, he's a little. He's a hitman. He's very competitive. Yeah. He's a workhorse. And Clemmer.
Yeah, Dave Clem.
Yeah.
Did you ever train like Finucane or anyone like that?
Nah.
Or Cam McInnes?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. He's someone I'd pick when you watch him tackle. Like the other day against Penrith, I don't know if you saw it. He made 80 tackles, and you're just like, yeah, fuck, you do all right in the fight.
Yeah, no, Cam's he's a workhorse too. He was a leader for the team actually back then. The Dragons, he just really encouraged and pushed the team. He was one of the first ones to stand up after being broken in half.
Yeah. When it comes to like teaching people wrestling, where do you normally start with? Like, what's the starting points? Like teaching complete amateurs.
Wrestling for, or just wrestling, or just wrestling for footy?
Nah, just wrestling in general.
Wrestling in general, it's mainly teaching how to be athletic and almost like a gymnast. They're very similar to one another. In wrestling, wrestlers use gymnasts moves like flips and being mobile and stuff like that because you have to, otherwise things will break on you.
Yeah.
So you got to be really mobile and nimble and athletic and all those things.
Crazy body strength, eh?
Yeah.
Now, just for some questions from fighters themselves, what were your biggest mistakes when starting out?
Biggest mistakes when starting out, probably not listening.
Fuck, how old were you? Like 21. Who's going to tell you any different? You know what I mean?
Probably not listening. But I remember another mistake was at the time before the fight happened, we gave a CD disc with our music on it for our walkout song, and I used a ballpoint pen on this CD disc and I scratched the fuck out of it. So then I've gave the DJ my intro song, and I'm up next and I'm getting ready. Next minute I come out to the song and I scratched the bits and I'm like, oh, shit.
What song was it?
I can't even remember. I was just that disappointed. So I can't even remember. It put me off, far out. Something disappointing. Nothing really comes to my mind. They're all like good experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the process like? So it's kind of the way you'll answer this question will obviously be different to a modern fighter. But what was the process like for you of earning a UFC contract at the time?
The process, word of mouth, really.
It's crazy to think about now, eh?
Yeah.
Considering like how many different avenues people go to get a UFC contract nowadays.
Yeah, it's word of mouth.
Yeah. And you'd credit that to like your brother kind of making connections earlier on with Mark Hunt and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And the way you earned, would you say Mark? So was it Mark that kind of put you through to the fight the promoters themselves?
Yeah, he did that with pride. Yeah.
And that translated over to UFC.
Well, no, that one got cut. I should have done something about it. Like Mark was telling me to follow up on it. I didn't. But my brother got connected to another a manager over in England. There was a friend of a friend that also had UFC fighters that he was managing.
Yeah, right.
So Thomas pitched me towards him, saying that UFC's coming to Sydney. He's a local boy. he's just passed like 6 fights. He's quite exciting. Yeah, good chance to chuck him on the undercard.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
What would you say was the easiest part of a fighter life, and what was the hardest part of the fighter life?
The easiest part of a fighter, nothing easy comes up. I know the hard parts. The hard parts for me was to, because MMA wasn't that big, so I had to, at the start, I had to travel around to different gyms and train with, go to a kickboxing gym over there and train with these great kickboxers, or go to this jiu-jitsu gym and train with world-class jiu-jitsu guys, and then wrestling, and then Olympic wrestlers. But I used to go over to each one and get owned. Meanwhile, I'm meant to have this confidence going into the fight. Where do I get my confidence from? I'm like, but like, it was hard. That's hard. Is like you go, have a session, you get like owned by these guys.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure it out how to, try and put it together, muster up. You're trying to tell yourself that you're ready for this fight. You're ready training with these guys. But that was quite, that was a hard one for me. It was going to each, kickboxing, boxing, training with, Olympians and just getting smoked.
Yeah. How far into your career were you when like gyms started to become generally just a mixed martial arts gym rather than specific martial arts gyms?
Probably halfway through. So like around like 2010, like there was a lot of gyms in America.
Yeah.
That just had teams there. They had teams there.
When do you reckon Australia caught on, like 2013, 2014 type of thing, or same time?
Yeah, around the same time. It happened in phases. Like we had a really good team out in Penrith.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Bisping and Rampage came over. And we were training there. Ross Pearson came over. We were training there. So we just, at that time, we had a strong team of fighters that were regularly competing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good time for me. But then everyone moves off, goes their own way. And there was a time where I didn't have that, those fighters, all those good training partners around me.
Yeah.
So to go elsewhere. But it just depends. Like right now, it's City Kickboxing, right? It's attracting all the fighters in the Australasia area.
Yeah.
They're all going over there now. Yeah.
This isn't on the question from the fighters. This is a personal question. Pacific Islands. Do you think there's a way you could set it up so that we could start? Because like the way I see the UFC, it's such a different sport in this sense. If you're from the Pacific Islands, Australia or New Zealand, you're just like, I'm supporting you no matter what. It's just kind of how we roll, right? Just like everyone, because of city kickboxing as well. Half of them are Aussies, like training in there. With the Pacific Islands, do you think there's a way there can somehow be infrastructure put there so that they can start producing more fighters? Because they'd obviously have the genetics for it, right?
Yeah, over there. Or like,
do you think you'd have to do it over there, or could you put it here and somehow find the fighters over there and bring them over?
I don't know. That's quite a hard one, eh? I haven't even really. Yeah, no, I'm not too sure. Maybe I don't know. What do you think?
I think you'd have to put it over there.
Over there.
Yeah, and then you'd bring them to like city kickboxing, freestyle, all that stuff over here. But like putting it over there, because I reckon there'd be so much talent over there.
Yeah, there would be. There will be. But there's a number of things you need, I guess.
Yeah, with infrastructure. People need to get paid. Like,
yeah,
there's so many things you need to set up. But I just always thought, like, when you see like Taffa, for example, or like Thai, right? It's like they've got the genetics of Pacific Islanders, and you're just like, fuck, like you can only imagine what's out there that's just we're not tapping into,
Yeah.
Because all the boys over here, they've obviously got the resources.
Yep.
But it's like there'd be boys back over there that like you just think, fuck, like if they had the resources, they could be world champions.
Yeah.
Especially heavyweights.
Yep.
It'd be crazy. But
There'll be heaps of boys around there.
Yeah.
There'll be heaps of guys around there. I mean, you already know like heaps of guys that could have made it in footy, right?
Yeah.
There's heaps of those guys, eh? Just depends on things, I think.
Yeah. I think footy's another one they've got to get over there. what was going through, yeah, we kind of touched on it, but like, can you recall what was going through your head against Beltran? Was it just like straight brawl, or were you keeping to the tactics? What was it?
I was just trying to get over him, sort of thing. Because I broken hand and broken foot, and he was giving it back to me, and yeah, I don't know. We just had like a good, like, kind of like, I don't know, it was that, like that. I guess he didn't back down, and I was like, oh, I certainly wasn't going to back down. We were both up for like a good challenge, and that's the way it went, sort of thing. But afterwards, I'm at the hospital about to get, all plastered up and splintered up and that. Got my crutches from there, yeah, that's right. So I'm in his waiting room, and it's like Saturday nights. I don't know, so like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. It's no one's there. In the waiting room, and there's someone else, and he's on the bed on the other side. I can't see who it is, and we're in there for like almost like an hour. Then a nurse comes in and turns his bed around, and it's him. It's Joe Beltran. Wow, fuck, didn't realize you were there.
Fucking hell. It's crazy.
Yeah, so we were just laughing about it, and but that bond that you have with that person after a fight, man, it's quite very strong. I was only talking about it today to one of the boys. The bond that you have, like, against the guy that you just fought is very strong, because when you're preparing for a fight, no one else understands what you're going through except for your opponent. Yeah. So all those sacrifices that you make, all those hard decisions you make during those 3-4 months, no one understands except your opponent. So you have a lot of respect. You have like a really strong bond with the guy you just fought afterwards. That's why you see all this hugging and shaking hands and happiness afterwards. That's the reason why.
Yeah, it's kind of like the art of war, right? It's like you two just stepped in and went to war against each other. So only you two can maintain like that respect for each other. Yeah, it'd be crazy. Sitting in the hospital together as well after it. That'd be such a bonding moment. What are the benefits a young person can gain from just generally fight training, not only in the physical aspect, but also the mental aspect?
Fight training.
Or just training combat sports, but not training to fight.
Yeah. So the big one's being able to control your emotions. Yeah, big time control your emotions. You got set tasks to do. There's a lot behind, especially like boxing. Man, boxing is really good for young people to be able to get through those tough years through high school. Yeah, controlling your emotions, being able to make better decisions. Making you feel a lot more safer. Because I mean, through the high schools right now, and we've all heard it on the news lately, all these knives that are going around. These kids carrying the knives are, might be feeling unsafe. That's why they got to carry something. They're always on edge. Yeah. Or it might be like a hierarchy thing. I'm not too sure. But yeah, boxing is a really good way for young people to be able to make them safe and secure, knowing that they can handle themselves, make better decisions, and learn more about respect and determination, and it's a lot of life lessons learned in boxing. Yeah, a lot.
With the UFC Performance Institute helping with injury prevention, weight cutting, and recovery nowadays, with all the science and knowledge we have in this era, do you think your career would have gone differently if you had that science and knowledge back when you started?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. It always happens with the old fellas when they finish up.
Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to go first. You know what I mean? Someone's going to do it.
Yeah. There's always got to be mistakes made for the next gen to get better. Yeah. And it, it's definitely happening. It's, I guess because I was the captain of, my ship. I controlled things. Yeah. So I was like, I got to do this. I got to do that. And I just didn't know how to take care of myself more or pull myself back. Yeah. Never had a hierarchy person, above me to be able to tell me, yes or no sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's kind of crazy when you look back on your career and you being a pioneer, you just had to, You had to learn as you
Figure
go,
it out,
fall
yeah.
on your face and get back up by
Yeah,
yourself.
figure it out. Yeah,
Legit, Mark Hunt is the only person that you could relate to when it came to like stepping into the ring and whatnot.
yeah. Well, like, I did have my coaches in that there,
Yeah.
and they did give me some awesome advice. But at the end, it was me going into the cage.
Yeah.
They weren't coming in with me,
Yeah.
so I had to make those decisions. Yeah.
Crazy career, man. Last one from the fighters. A piece of advice to an upcoming fighter or something you wish you knew as an active fighter. We'll stick to the first part. A piece of advice to an up-and-coming fighter.
Piece of advice to an upcoming fighter would be to find your clique and build that team bonding, build those relationships with your team. That's a big one, man. Yeah,
Do you
build
think-
those relationships. They're important.
Do you
Very
think-
important.
The most common thing about the world's best fighters was the team they had around them. Like,
Yeah.
was just so strong.
Yep.
Yeah, you see that with the Dagestanis, hey?
Yeah.
Just like the way they roll,
Yep.
the way they train.
Yep.
Crazy.
Strong as a team. I see so many fighters that bounce around from gym to gym to gym to gym. They don't really get anywhere.
Yeah.
When you got a fighter like staying at one team, man, they just grow so much, and everyone else in that team grows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think that's what city kickboxing has done so well over the past half a decade, or like decade, we'll just say? It's like Hooker, Kakara,
Yep.
Blood Diamond,
Yep.
Izzy, obviously, like all
Yep.
training there. Do you think that's just like why they've all kicked off so well?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That team, like me, we've been with like footy teams now. I see it so much, and it's a powerful thing. That connection.
Yeah. It's awesome. Finally, I just wanted to ask someone, like, for you, any advice you'd have to like anyone pursuing an athletic career, whether it's in footy or whether it's in football, whether it's mixed martial arts, whether it's swimming. Is there anything you can give off from the years where you just trial and error that you think's very valuable?
Same thing I say over and over again. Reps, man. Reps are the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do it again and again and again. That's the only way that you get good. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we end, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sitting down for the interview. Second of all, like from a person who's become a massive mixed martial arts fan, thank you for your work. You know, you and Mark, like everyone I spoke to, all these fighters, they're like, bro, like that's the OG, you know? So it's like, very much thank you for your work, because the environment you provide, like even the work you've done from a fan's perspective now, where I get to see Izzy as the champion and I get to see Whittaker, Volk, I get to see Ty in the top 10 heavyweights. You know what I mean? I get to see all these boys like from my area or from the same country or from New Zealand like compete at the highest level. Or because you and Mark really like put yourselves out there, put your heads on the chopping block, you know, for trial and error. So really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, man. Just see myself as everyone else, you know.
Yeah. As anyone famous does, it's just kind of like you're you. You don't really fathom like how other people may see you or put you on a pedestal type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on, brother.
Nah, sweet as, man.
Appreciate it.
So.
See you next week.